They say weddings are for two people, but mine wouldn't have been complete without her. The proposal was perfect. It was the night before my 30th birthday, and my boyfriend Tom had taken me out for dinner at our favorite restaurant. After I'd had my fill of steak and lobster, he got down on one knee and asked me to marry him. Of course, I said yes. But what neither of us had anticipated was what happened next. As soon as I'd answered his question, a ginger blur shot across the restaurant leaped onto the table and started rubbing against his hand. It was our cat, Marmalade. And somehow she'd managed to get out of the house and was now making a beeline for my new engagement ring. It wasn't exactly an elegant proposal, but Tom and I both burst out laughing, and then he picked Marmalade up and gave her a little cuddle. She purred loudly, then trotted off again. I was still in shock from the proposal, and when I turned to Tom, I saw a mischievous glint in his eye. "She's your date?" he said with a grin. "What?" I laughed. "Marmalade can't be my wedding date." "Why not?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. "She'd be the best cat bridesmaid a girl could ask for." Before I knew it, we were planning our wedding, which took place 3 months later. It was a beautiful ceremony in a church near our home, followed by a reception and a marquee in the garden. We'd invited all our friends and family, and of course, Marmalade. Now, normally, Marmalade is very well behaved, but in the weeks leading up to the wedding, she seemed determined to drive us crazy. First, she started bringing dead birds and mice into the house. Then she knocked over several pots of plants, including my favorite orchid. And on the day of the wedding, disaster struck. I was getting ready with my bridesmaids when Marmalade came bounding up to me with a dead lizard dangling from her mouth. She dropped it at my feet and looked at me expectantly. I sighed. I couldn't be angry with her, but I also couldn't take her to the wedding. So I left her at home with Tom, who I'd told to stay off social media until after the ceremony so that no one would find out that I'd had to leave her behind. When I arrived at the church, however, I found that Marmalade had already made an appearance. She was sitting in the front row, looking very smug indeed. And I knew then that Tom hadn't been able to keep her away from me on my big day. I knelt down and stroked her head, and she purred loudly. Then it was time for me to walk down the aisle. I took a deep breath, trying to look elegant, and started walking towards Tom. Suddenly, I felt something brush against my leg. Looking down, I saw that Marmalade had slipped out of the pew and was now trotting towards me. The bridesmaids burst out laughing, but I stopped and knelt down and let Marmalade walk under my dress. And then, much to everyone's amusement, she trotted down the rest of the aisle and up to Tom. He picked her up and cradled her while I walked towards him. And at that moment, I realized that Marmalade was my date. Not because she was a cat, but because she was a part of our family. After we'd exchanged vows and signed the register, we all went to the reception. And to everyone's amusement, Marmalade had pride of place at the top table. She lapped up the attention and even allowed the bride's mother to put a little bow in her hair. During the speeches, Tom's brother joked about how Marmalade had almost stolen the show and how he'd been expecting a promotion at work that year. But she'd clearly got dibs on the title of top cat. Then it was time for the first dance. And as the DJ played our song, Tom and I took to the floor. Halfway through the dance, Marmalade jumped up on the table and then down on the floor and started dancing with us. We all laughed and joined in, and it was clear that Marmalade was enjoying being the star of the show. After the first dance, I carried on dancing with my new husband and my friends and family, while Marmalade took it upon herself to check out the buffet. But after a while, she got bored and curled up on a sofa nearby, purring contentedly. As the evening wore on, more and more guests left, but Tom and I stayed on the dance floor, dancing and laughing. And although Marmalade had stolen the limelight, we both agreed that it wouldn't have been our day without her. In the end, it was time to cut the cake and blow out the candles. And as I made a wish and blew on the candles, I knew that Marmalade would be by my side for many more years to come. So, what's the moral of the story? Don't worry if your wedding doesn't go exactly to plan. As long as you have the people, or should I say paws, you love around you, then it really doesn't matter. And remember, family isn't just about blood. It's about the unconditional love that only a pet can give. Because sometimes the best dates are the ones you least expect.